Hello, hello, good people. Hello. Welcome back to another car conversation. It's hot and I'm inside. So let's go. I wanted to talk about the recent SCOTUS rulings, the recent Supreme Court rulings. Um, Number one, I wanted to talk about bump stocks and the rolling back of the ban on bump stocks. Oh, a few housekeeping notes first. I want to make sure that you notice here down at the bottom, correct spelling of my name. Also, I have my IG page information there so you can locate me. It's the same on Facebook. But I will say this, more of this information, more political information, especially that I want to share from this point through the election, I put that more so on IG. We all kind of get Facebook's more for like, family, birthdays, etc. So I put most of that information on IG. So follow me on IG for that. And then also I put my Cash App information there. If you want to bless a sister, then bless a sister. Okay. So back to SCOTUS, Supreme Court. So we have the rolling back of the ban on bump stocks. If we already didn't have, it's as if we didn't have gun issues in this country. It's as if we don't have mass shootings pretty much every weekend, if not more, because a lot of them do not make mainstream media, because mass shootings are, I believe, are 5 people or more. But let me say this. First of all, bump stocks were banned because they made semi-automatic guns. Actually, it was banned. They were banned right after the Vegas shooting, which I'm going to circle back to. Machine guns have been banned in the US since the 1980s, and bump stocks made semi-automatic weapons comparable to machine guns. Okay. They can fire off anywhere from 400 to 800 rounds per minute. I'm looking down because I want to make sure I'm giving you accurate information per minute. And just to give you an accurate idea of how damaging that can be, if you remember, which I'm quite sure we all do, the Vegas shooting in 2017, 60 people were unalived by that mass shooter. 400 additional people were injured during that mass shooting. And all of that happened in under 11 minutes. In under 11 minutes. 60 people unalived, 400 additional people injured, and all that occurred in under 11 minutes. And now the Supreme Court has said that bump stocks can be back on the streets. It makes all of us less safe. I know that people, gun enthusiasts, or just people that just really want to have guns. I know they're going to run out, if they haven't already, and stock up. So we have to be very mindful that these weapons of war and mass destruction will be back on our streets. And then I just, I'm thinking of Missouri. I'm thinking of Missouri right now. That's why I'm kind of, fumbling over my words here. But I'm thinking of Missouri. In Missouri, I believe, children as young as the age 12 can openly carry a weapon in the state of Missouri. And now bump stocks are going to be available to young people, kids even, whose brains aren't even fully developed to a point where they can properly evaluate information and make rash decisions, because that isn't fully complete till we're about 25, 26, 27, somewhere in that zone. So it makes us all less safe in our churches, in our schools, in our at concerts, um, picnics, grocery stores, movie theaters, all of it makes us less safe. So horrific, horrible, horrible, horrible ruling coming down from the Supreme Court. The next one I want to talk about is the abortion pill. Now, the Supreme Court did hold, basically they upheld the previous ruling on the abortion pill. So if you're in a red state, abortions are banned in your state, you still can do have access to the abortion pill through telehealth, and also you can receive them through the mail. Okay, on the federal level, that still exists. Now here's the gotcha. In their opinion, the opinion which I believe was written by Clarence Thomas, in that opinion, they were signaling, conservative judges were signaling to governors and also to Congress that they need legislation in order to do anything in regards to the abortion pill, because the way it got to the Supreme Court in this instance was because conservative activists pushed it through, and I believe through one of the appointed judges in Texas. If I remember correctly, the last name is Kasmerick. And that judge was appointed by whom? 45. So they got the case to the Supreme Court, but because there was no injury by any of these activists, because you have to be able to prove injury in order for the case to sue, right? So that does not exist. So they were not able to rule on the merits, basically, on this case. They were only able to say, it does not have standing because there was no harm done. There was no injury to anyone. So in writing that, in that opinion, they signaled to lower federal courts, they signaled to governors of red states, and they also were signaling to Congress. We need something different. And if you get something different in front of us, then this might change. So it was a small win, temporary win, and we all need to remain vigilant, is what I would say about that. And let's move on to IVF. Now, IVF, they haven't ruled on this one yet. Typically what we see here at the end of June every single year is when the Supreme Court just starts throwing out all of its opinions, right? Before they wrap and go home, disappear for the summer. So IVF is the next thing. Now, let me tell you this, little background on IVF. How IVF, the IVF argument with conservatives even became an issue is not the religious one that they want you to believe. It's not. IVF, of course, is not discussed in the Bible. IVF did not, originate out of conversations in churches. What happened is, again, conservative activist groups, and this was back in what was that? Whenever Jimmy Carter was in office, to go against Jimmy Carter, they made this an argument to go against Jimmy Carter and the Southern Baptists, that this unnatural way, in their minds, although you are taking sperm from the designated man, husband, boyfriend, or whomever the woman has selected, and you're taking the egg from the woman, because it is not naturally, according to their argument, there's no, the procreation is not natural. They deem it as not of God. Okay. So again, that's religious. That is not political, right? But they decided to use this argument in their campaign against Jimmy Carter. And so a religious argument then became a political discussion. And that's how we find ourselves here. That's how we find ourselves here. So keep an eye on that one. That one has not been decided. I'm thinking in the next couple of days, if it's not happening while I'm speaking, while I'm recording this, could be happening today. And then also absolute immunity for presidents. Why the Supreme Court is even entertaining this is beyond me. Like these traditionalists, what they claim to be on the Supreme Court, no, we only look at and we only go by what is in the Constitution, period. That's what they sell you on, right? That's what they sold everyone on when they got up, not everyone, I was not sold, but the majority of conservatives, that's what they sold them on when we saw those hearings. We saw those confirmation hearings where they said over and over and over, if the case does not have, if the case goes against what has been set in as precedents, we will not go against it. Also, if it goes against the Constitution, because we consider ourselves traditionalists and constitutionalists, we will not go against it. We will not go against those established pillars of America's democracy. That's what they sold the American people on. And then now they're looking at this whack-ass case that 45 is trying to use just to get off, just to get out of his legal situation. He says, oh, presidents shouldn't be held accountable for anything. They should have absolute immunity. What the Supreme Court should have done is said, oh, we're not even entertaining this. We're not looking at this. But because it is so heavily conservative weighted, it is now in front of the Supreme Court. So I want you to just pause and think about what that can mean for our future. If presidents have free reign, anybody that is in the White House, anybody who occupies the Oval Office, no matter what their personal agenda might be, no matter what their, there are good Republicans. There are Republicans that don't mean everybody harm, right? There are bad actors from every political background, just because they're human beings. They can be corrupt or corrupted. But at the end of the day, the Supreme Court should have never agreed to hear this case. And this case only and solely is in front of the Supreme Court because right now we have a former, I hate saying it out loud, individual who occupied the Oval Office. There lies my point. In thinking about all these things, and there are other cases that I didn't even mention, and we know what happened with Roe, right? This is why it is so important for every individual to vote. It's all connected. Because if we didn't have 4 years of 45, we wouldn't have the Supreme Court that we have right now that is rolling back freedoms and rights for women, that is putting weapons of war on our streets, that is making decision after decision that is not in favor of the masses. We wouldn't have that because we wouldn't have had 45. And I want you to take a look at, before I let you go, I want you to take a look at Texas, my home state. I want you to take a look at what's happening in Louisiana right now. Just yesterday, Louisiana's governor made it mandatory for for the 10 commandments to be posted in every every public school classroom. So what if you're not of Christian faith? What about that student? How is the teacher supposed to explain adultery to 5-year-olds? Also, why would she or he have to? Because if it wasn't posted in the classroom, kids wouldn't even be asking the questions. So I want you to just really look at these states. Look at Texas, look at Louisiana, look at Florida, look at Alabama, look at Mississippi, look at South Carolina, North Carolina, look at, oh my gosh, look at Tennessee. This is why voting is so important. And some of you in these states that are watching me right now are walking around just bewildered and dumbfounded as to why and how all this shit is happening in your state. And it's because some of you didn't show up to vote. I think I have this statistic. Hold on. Oh, I don't have it. Wait. Only 29% of Black people in Louisiana voted in the 2020 election. A breakdown that I got, because I'm gonna do a whole different thing on what's happening in these red states and why local elections are so important as well. Today I'm talking about SCOTUS, but I just wanted to give you a little tinge, a little something. In Baton Rouge alone, there are 127,000 eligible voters in the 2020 election. There were 127,000 eligible voters, Black voters in Baton Rouge, the city of Baton Rouge in Louisiana alone. Guess how many voted in that election? 8,000. 8,000. And they're wondering how they got this wannabe commander of Gilead in Governor Landry that they have right now. That's all I see. All I see is the making of Gilead all through the South. That's what I see. So I want to wrap this up. I just want to say, listen, we have to be prepared. We have to educate ourselves. We have to make sure that we're paying attention. We have to make sure that we're paying attention to everything that they are trying to normalize along the way. You have to do your own homework. You have to do your own due diligence. You have to vote in your own interest. White women, I'm talking specifically to you. You must vote in your own interest. They are literally trying to strip your freedoms, your rights, your daughter's rights, your granddaughter's rights. They're trying to strip that away from you. And God forbid you sit back and just say, oh, I'm going to vote, however my husband votes. It's not equal. It's not equal. There's no equality there. There's no equity. There's no parity in the way this country still to this day sees women versus men. All right, I'm going to wrap this up. I thank you all for joining me for this conversation. Please drop all your comments below. I love reading your comments. If you've noticed, I started responding to some of them. So let me know what you think. Let me know how you feel. If you're in a red state, let us all know what's really going on in your state. And also, if you're in a blue state like me in California, don't get too comfortable. Don't get too comfortable, because what we have seen with the abortion pill, for example, that would have been all of us. That would have been all of us if SCOTUS would have ruled differently on the abortion pill. So don't get too comfortable in the blue states. But red states, if you live in a red state, let us know. Let everybody know in the comments what it's really like. All right, I'll talk to you all soon.